quote, "The White House has no clue." Who says that? Senator Orrin Hatch. Just a short time ago, Senator Hatch went on the record. Senator, nice to see you, sir.
Nice to see you.
All right, we have a horrible jobs problem. I don't need to tell you that, but the president has a proposal. What do you think about his proposal and how he wants to fund it?
Well, it's long on taxes. It makes the taxes permanent, and of course everything else is short term. That's not the way to do it. And not only that, you know, we were just props in that joint session, so he can make what really was a very political speech that even Democrats aren't going to support. You know, I've been surprised how many Democrats are against what he's talking about in that approximately $450 billion, basically a tax bill. It's pathetic.
Why would he introduce if he knows that, number one, everyone says it's dead on arrival here, but two, if he knows that Democrats aren't going to support it? What was the point?
Well, it's the same old thing. It's to make political points rather than really lead in an economical sort of way. You know, I've made this point over and over, and that is that there's not a person in the White House who's ever really had much to do with creating private sector jobs. And if you look at even the recent addition at the Council of Economic Advisors, Princeton professor, not a lot of experience in the private sector. They're great academics. They're great, brilliant people, but they have no clue as to how you make jobs. And they think the government's the one that makes jobs. Anybody believes that, it's nuts.
Solyndra, what do you think about that crisis?
Well, it's a disgrace, really. I mean, you know, the president and his allies have gotten so caught up in green matters, and I can understand that. I think it would be good for us to move more and more into alternative forms of energy and so forth. But to put $535 million into a program that has a poor business plan, it would be far better for them to go out and raise money in the private marketplace, and that would have made them, given them a chance to win. It's pretty well concluded now that this isn't because of China, this isn't because of foreign competition, this is a bad business plan. Not only that, but there are some 35 states who didn't get as much money for their roads, highways, and bridges as Solyndra got, that is now down the drain because they're now in bankruptcy. I mean, it's really pathetic, and that's what's wrong with going too far overboard on some of their approaches. And there may even be some very serious charges brought out of that in the end. I hope not. I think there was a sincerity about it, but it's stupid. It's again done by people who don't know what they're doing, who literally haven't worked in the private sector, who didn't do their business rundown, and who basically shouldn't be running our country. I'll put it that way.
You've introduced a bill having to do with the United Nations, and right now the Palestinians are attempting to have the UN recognize them as a state. What is your bill, and why did you introduce it?
Well, I'm sick and tired of the UN doing these crazy things. And of course the Palestinians want to be declared a state so that they can bring charges against Israel and embarrass Israel all over the world.
In the International Criminal Court?
Right. And Israel, of course, is you know, the only democracy in a sea of 300 million Arabs. And I really will support the moderate Arab people who really want peace and want to do what's right. But to now do this is just a gimmick to try and put even more pressure on Israel. And frankly, I think the United States ought to just send the message: if you're going to keep pulling this kind of stuff, we're going to pull out of we're going to pull our money back from the UN until you wise up and wake up. And frankly, that's what that bill does. It would actually make it so that we're not going to keep supporting the UN the way we have financially.
All right, I see that you had, I think, about 13 co-sponsors. People have signed on to it.
Well, I think we have more than that.
Okay, I was going to ask you, is it likely to pass? I mean, have you done any sort of head count to see what impact it would have?
Well, we haven't done a head count because we just filed it today, but the fact of the matter is I think it would have a real chance of passage. I don't know what the Democrats will do. I doubt that they'd even allow it to be brought up in the Senate. That's the problem. They control the Senate with 53 Democrats, and frankly, we don't get anything up that might cause them any problems at the polls. But I don't see why any Democrat worth his salt, or her salt, wouldn't be willing to stand up and say this is wrong to keep picking on Israel, and it's wrong to change this status of the Palestinians just for political purposes or just to embarrass Israel.
What do you think of how the president's handled this?
Well, I heard his speech today. I didn't get to hear it, but I heard that it was pretty weak. And look, I like the president personally. There's nothing personal in my remarks, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's never worked in the private sector. He doesn't understand it. I really believe that he thinks we should be like Europe. My gosh, who in their right mind would want to do that? And I really question whether he believes that this is the greatest nation in the world.
Senator, thank you, sir. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Straight ahead.